Imagine opening your eyes on a freezing winter morning over 1,000 years ago. The fire in your home has almost died. Cold air slips through the cracks in the wooden walls. Outside, snow covers the land. The sea is dark. The wind howls through the mountains. You are not a king. You are not a legendary warrior. You are simply trying to survive. Most people today imagine Vikings as fearless raiders wearing helmets with horns, sailing across the ocean in search of treasure. But the truth was far more complicated. Behind every famous Viking warrior stood thousands of ordinary men, women, and children whose lives were filled with hunger, freezing winters, dangerous seas, deadly diseases, and constant uncertainty. A single failed harvest could mean starvation. A violent storm could destroy an entire fishing season. A small infected wound could become a death sentence. Children were expected to work almost as soon as they could walk. Life was hard, sometimes unbelievably hard. Yet despite these brutal conditions, the Vikings built one of the most remarkable civilizations in European history. They crossed oceans without modern maps. They discovered distant lands. They traded with powerful kingdoms. They fought fierce battles, and their stories continue to fascinate the world more than 1,000 years later. But what was daily life actually like? What did ordinary Viking families eat? How did they survive the endless northern winters? What happened when disease spread through a village? And what did it truly mean to become a Viking warrior? Today, we're leaving behind the myths. We're stepping inside the real Viking world, a world where survival mattered far more than glory. This is the brutal reality of Viking life. Imagine taking your very first breath in a small wooden longhouse somewhere along the cold coast of Scandinavia over 1,000 years ago. Outside, icy winds sweep across the mountains. The sea crashes against the rocky shore. Winter feels endless. This is the Viking world. You are born into a family that survives through hard work. Your father may be a farmer, a fisherman, a blacksmith, or perhaps a sailor preparing for another dangerous voyage across the sea. Your mother works just as hard. She prepares food, makes clothing, cares for the children, and helps keep the family alive through the long northern winters. Life begins with uncertainty. Many babies never survive their first years. Disease spreads easily. Medicine is primitive, and even a simple infection can become deadly. Unlike the legends we hear today, most Vikings were not famous warriors. They were ordinary people trying to survive. They raised animals, grew barley and oats, caught fish from the cold northern seas, cut firewood before winter arrived. Every member of the family had responsibilities. Even young children learned quickly that survival depended on everyone working together. The land itself was both beautiful and unforgiving. Deep forests covered the hills. Towering mountains surrounded narrow fjords. The sea provided food and opportunity, but it could also take lives without warning. From the moment you were born, nature decided much of your future. A harsh winter, a failed harvest, or a violent storm could change everything. For a Viking child, life was never guaranteed, and growing up would be far more difficult than most people today could ever imagine. Imagine being only 6 years old. Most children today spend their days playing games, going to school, and sleeping in warm beds. A Viking child had a very different life. From an early age, childhood was filled with responsibility. Boys learned how to chop wood, care for animals, and fish in the freezing northern waters. Girls learned how to cook, weave clothing, prepare food, and manage the household. Every skill mattered. Every lesson could one day save a life. There was little time for play. Survival always came first. Children watched their parents work from sunrise until sunset. Soon, they were expected to work beside them. Even the youngest members of the family carried water, gathered firewood, and helped prepare food before the long winter arrived. As they grew older, boys often practiced with wooden swords and small axes, not because they dreamed of becoming heroes, but because one day they might have to defend their family. Strength was respected, courage was admired. But both had to be earned through years of hard work. Life was filled with danger: a fall from a cliff, a freezing river, a wild animal, or a deadly illness. Any of these could end a child's life without warning. Many children never reached adulthood. Those who survived became stronger with every passing winter. By the time a Viking reached adulthood, They had already faced hardships that most people today would never experience in an entire lifetime. Growing up was never easy. It was simply another battle for survival. Imagine waking up one morning with an empty stomach. There is no bakery nearby, no supermarket, no food delivery, only whatever your family managed to save before winter arrived. For most Viking families, food was never guaranteed. Every meal depended on hard work, good weather, and a little luck. During the short summer months, families worked from sunrise until sunset. They planted barley and oats, raised sheep, goats, and cattle, caught fish from the icy seas, and hunted wild animals deep inside the forests. Everything had to be prepared before the first snowfall. Fish were dried, meat was smoked, grain was carefully stored. Even berries and herbs were collected while they were still growing. Because once winter arrived, nature offered very little. A failed harvest could become a disaster. A violent storm could destroy fishing boats. A long winter could empty every food store before spring returned. Hunger was something many Vikings understood all too well. Children often ate after the adults. Parents sometimes sacrificed their own meals so their families could survive. Feasts did happen, but they were special occasions. Most ordinary days were simple: a bowl of barley porridge, a piece of dried fish, some bread, and if they were fortunate, a little meat. Food was not a luxury. It was survival. Every bite represented hours of labor. And every successful harvest meant another chance to live through the next winter. Imagine stepping inside a Viking longhouse after walking through the freezing northern wind. The heavy wooden door closes behind you. Instantly, the warmth of a crackling fire surrounds the room. Smoke slowly rises toward a small opening in the roof. The smell of burning wood fills the air. This is where an entire Viking family lives. Grandparents, parents, children, sometimes even servants or workers. Everyone shares the same building. The longhouse is more than a home. It is the center of everyday life. People eat together, work together, sleep together, and survive together. Along the walls are wooden benches covered with thick animal furs. At night, these become beds. The center of the room is dominated by a large, open fireplace. It provides heat during the freezing winters. It cooks every meal and offers light after the sun disappears. Tools hang from wooden beams. Weapons rest nearby: barrels of grain, bundles of dried herbs, smoked fish. Everything needed to survive the coming winter is carefully stored inside. Privacy is almost non-existent. Life is shared with everyone under the same roof. Conversations, arguments, laughter, and grief. Every important moment happens inside these wooden walls. Outside, the world is cold and dangerous. But inside the longhouse, families find warmth, safety, and hope. For every Viking, home was not a castle. It was this simple wooden building that protected them from one more brutal northern winter. Imagine developing a high fever in the middle of winter. Your body grows weaker with every passing hour. There is no hospital nearby, no antibiotics, no modern medicine, only the knowledge passed down through generations. For the Vikings, disease was one of the greatest enemies they faced. Even a small cut could become infected. A broken bone might never heal properly. Simple illnesses that are easily treated today could become deadly. When someone became sick, family members did everything they could to help. Herbal remedies were prepared. Warm broths were cooked. Experienced healers used plants, roots, and traditional treatments they believed could fight disease. Sometimes they worked. Many times they did not. Illness spread quickly inside crowded longhouses where entire families lived together. During long winters, people stayed indoors for weeks. Smoke from the central fire filled the air. Fresh air was limited. If one person became seriously ill, others often became sick as well. Many children never survived dangerous fevers. Many adults died from infected wounds after accidents or battles. Life expectancy was far shorter than it is today. Yet despite constant illness, Viking families refused to give up. They cared for one another, shared what little food they had, and hoped each sunrise would bring another chance to recover. For every Viking, surviving disease was never guaranteed. It was simply another battle in the endless struggle to stay alive. Imagine turning 16 years old. For many Viking boys, childhood was over. The years of watching and learning had prepared them for something far more dangerous. Now they had to prove themselves. Not every Viking became a warrior. Many remained farmers, fishermen, blacksmiths, or traders. But every young man was expected to know how to fight, because one day, his family might depend on it. Training began early. Wooden swords became iron blades. Practice shields became real shields. Older warriors taught younger boys how to swing an axe, how to hold a shield, how to stand together in battle. Discipline mattered as much as strength. Courage was respected, but recklessness could get everyone killed. A Viking warrior fought not only for glory. He fought to protect his family, his village, and his people. Before setting sail, warriors repaired their weapons, sharpened their axes, and prepared their famous longships. No one knew if they would ever return home. The sea was dangerous, the battles were brutal, and death was always close. Yet thousands still chose to go, because success could bring land, silver, honor, and a better future for those waiting at home. For a Viking warrior, every voyage was a gamble between fortune and death. Vikings were not afraid of the sea. In fact, the sea was their highway. Their famous longships were among the fastest and most advanced boats of their time. They were light enough to sail across the open ocean, yet shallow enough to travel deep into rivers. Every spring, Viking crews prepared for long voyages. Some searched for new land. Others wanted valuable goods to trade. Many sailed in search of wealth, glory, or opportunity. Life aboard a Viking ship was never comfortable. The crew slept in the open air. Cold wind, heavy rain, and powerful waves were constant companions. Food was simple. Fresh water was limited. Storms could appear without warning and destroy an entire fleet within hours. Despite these dangers, Viking sailors became some of the greatest navigators in Europe. They learned to read the sun, the stars, the winds, and the movement of birds to find their way across the sea. Without modern maps or compasses, they crossed enormous distances with remarkable skill. Their journeys eventually reached England, Ireland, Scotland, France, and even farther. Some arrived peacefully to trade. Others came as fierce raiders, attacking villages, monasteries, and towns along the coast. The sight of dragon-headed Viking ships appearing on the horizon filled many people with fear. For the Vikings, however, every voyage offered a chance to gain wealth, honor, and a better future. The sea was dangerous, but to a Viking, staying home was often the greater risk. Many people believe that every Viking was a ruthless raider, but that is only part of the story. The Vikings were also skilled traders, fearless explorers, and talented craftsmen. Not every voyage ended in battle. Many Viking ships traveled peacefully across Europe, carrying valuable goods to distant markets. They traded furs, amber, iron, timber, weapons, jewelry, honey, and even walrus ivory. Their trade routes stretched from the icy north to the great cities of Europe and beyond. Trade brought wealth without the dangers of war, but the Viking spirit of adventure pushed them even farther. They were never satisfied with the lands they already knew. They wanted to discover what lay beyond the horizon. Around the late 9th century, Viking settlers reached Iceland. They built farms, raised livestock, and created new communities on the remote island. A century later, Eric the Red led settlers even farther west to Greenland. Life there was harsh. The winters were long. Food was often scarce. Yet Viking families survived for generations in one of the world's most unforgiving environments. Then came one of history's greatest forgotten journeys. Leif Erikson sailed even farther west across the Atlantic Ocean. He reached a land rich with forests, rivers, and wildlife. Today, historians believe this place was Vinland, located in what is now North America. The Vikings reached these shores nearly 500 years before Christopher Columbus. Although their settlements did not last, their achievement proved something remarkable. The Vikings were not simply warriors. They were among the greatest explorers the world had ever seen. When people imagine the Vikings, they usually picture fierce warriors sailing into battle. But most Viking families lived very different lives. Behind every successful Viking settlement stood hard-working women, strong families, and close-knit communities. Viking women carried far more responsibility than many people realize. While the men traveled for trade, exploration, or war, women often managed the entire household. They prepared food, raised children, cared for animals, made clothing, and organized daily life. Many women also controlled the family's property and finances while their husbands were away. Compared to many other societies of the time, Viking women enjoyed surprising legal rights. They could own property. They could inherit land. Some could even ask for a divorce if their marriage became unhappy or unsafe. Marriage was an important part of Viking society. Most marriages were arranged by families to strengthen alliances or secure land and wealth. Yet love and loyalty often grew over time as families worked together to survive. Children began learning from an early age. Boys trained to become farmers, craftsmen, sailors, or warriors. Girls learned farming, weaving, cooking, animal care, and household management from their mothers. Life was rarely easy. Long winters, hard work, and limited resources meant that every member of the family had responsibilities. Everyone contributed. Even young children helped care for animals, gather firewood, and prepare food. At the center of every Viking community stood the longhouse. It was more than just a home. It was a place where families ate together, shared stories, celebrated victories, and survived difficult winters side by side. The strength of Viking society was not built by warriors alone. It was built by families who worked together every single day. Long before Christianity reached Scandinavia, the Vikings followed their own powerful gods. Their religion shaped almost every part of daily life. The greatest of all was Odin, the wise and mysterious All-Father. He was the god of wisdom, war, poetry, and magic. According to legend, Odin sacrificed one of his own eyes in exchange for endless knowledge. Another beloved god was Thor. With his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, Thor protected both gods and humans from powerful enemies. Many Vikings wore small hammer pendants around their necks, believing Thor would protect them in battle and during dangerous journeys. Then there was Loki. Unlike the other gods, Loki was clever, unpredictable, and often caused chaos wherever he went. Sometimes he helped the gods. Other times, he betrayed them. The Vikings believed that brave warriors who died honorably in battle would not simply disappear. Instead, they would be welcomed into Valhalla, Odin's great hall. There, they would feast, train, and prepare for the final battle known as Ragnarok. Ragnarok was the Vikings' vision of the end of the world. They believed that one day, gods and giants would fight in a terrible war that would destroy the old world before a new one was born. These stories were more than simple myths. They gave the Vikings courage during war, hope during hardship, and strength when facing death. To the Vikings, the gods were never distant. They were part of everyday life, watching over every journey, every battle, and every choice. The Vikings were fierce warriors, but they also believed that every society needed laws. Without justice, even the strongest kingdom would fall into chaos. Most legal disputes were settled at public gatherings called the Thing. Here, free men gathered to discuss conflicts, hear witnesses, and decide punishments. There were no judges wearing robes. Instead, respected community leaders listened to both sides before reaching a decision. Honor was extremely important. If someone stole property, broke an agreement, or injured another person, the victim's family expected justice. Many disputes ended with compensation instead of violence. The guilty person often paid silver, livestock, or valuable goods to settle the conflict. But not every crime could be forgiven. Murder, repeated theft, betrayal, and other serious crimes brought much harsher punishments. One of the most feared penalties was outlawry. An outlaw lost the protection of Viking law. Anyone could hunt or kill them without punishment. For many Vikings, exile was almost worse than death. Being forced to leave family, friends, and homeland meant losing everything. The most serious crimes could even lead to execution. Although these punishments were harsh, they helped maintain order in a dangerous world. Justice was not always perfect, but the Vikings believed that strong laws protected both families and communities. In the Viking world, reputation was everything. A person's honor could take a lifetime to build, and only a single crime to destroy. For nearly 3 centuries, the Vikings had changed the history of Europe. They explored distant lands, built powerful kingdoms, created vast trade networks, and earned a reputation that spread across the known world. But no civilization lasts forever. Slowly, the Viking world began to change. One of the biggest changes came with Christianity. Missionaries traveled across Scandinavia, bringing a new religion that gradually replaced the old Norse gods. Churches were built where pagan temples once stood. The stories of Odin, Thor, and Loki slowly became legends instead of living beliefs. Powerful kings also united the Scandinavian lands. Instead of many small Viking chieftains, larger and more organized kingdoms began to emerge. Strong governments created new laws, collected taxes, and maintained permanent armies. The age of independent Viking raids slowly came to an end. Trade became more important than conquest. Peace became more valuable than endless war. By the middle of the 11th century, the Viking Age had largely come to an end. The famous longships no longer sailed across Europe as fleets of raiders. Yet the Vikings themselves did not disappear. Their descendants continued to build nations, shape cultures, and influence the future of Scandinavia. Today, the Viking Age lives on through archaeology, ancient sagas, museums, and the remarkable discoveries they left behind. Their ships changed exploration. Their courage changed history. And their legacy continues to inspire people around the world. The Viking Age may have ended, but the legend of the Vikings never truly will. Today, most of us wake up in warm, comfortable homes. We turn on the lights with a switch. Clean water flows from our taps. Food is waiting in nearby stores. Hospitals, schools, and modern technology make our daily lives safer and easier than ever before. For the Vikings, life was completely different. Every meal had to be earned. Every winter tested their survival. Every journey carried real danger. Disease, hunger, storms, and war were constant parts of everyday life. There were no engines, no electricity, no medicine, no internet, no guarantee of seeing another sunrise. Yet despite these hardships, the Vikings built families, explored unknown oceans, created thriving communities, and left behind a legacy that still amazes the world today. Their courage was real, their determination was extraordinary, and their willingness to face the unknown changed the course of history forever. The Viking Age ended nearly 1,000 years ago, but its lessons remain surprisingly relevant. The strength to face fear, the importance of family, the courage to explore new horizons, and the determination to keep moving forward, even when the future is uncertain. History is more than stories about the past. It reminds us how far humanity has come, and how much we can still learn from those who came before us. The Vikings were not simply fearless warriors. They were explorers, builders, parents, farmers, sailors, dreamers. Their world has disappeared, but their story will continue to inspire generations to come. If you enjoyed this journey through Viking history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more incredible stories from the past. Until next time, keep exploring history, because the past still shapes the world we live in today.